Hey guys, welcome back to Roast Cooking Show. So if you've been following along, I've been showing you how I make sockeye salmon and make it flawless every time, at least in my opinion or my family's opinion. But earlier you saw me debone, pull all the pin bones out of some great savory butcher sockeye salmon, and then in the next video you saw exactly how I season it. Now if you get a close-up on this, you can see that I've been letting it sit, and you can see how all of those spices that I put on are starting to marry to the salmon. Over here, I've got a skillet that's heating up, and I actually used rosemary olive oil and garlic olive oil. Now, if you don't have those things, or you can actually take rosemary, throw it in your olive oil, or garlic in your olive oil, but I've got this pan pretty hot. But one of the mistakes people make when they make salmon, or fish for that matter, is they start with their pan way too hot. And this one, I'm just starting to see a little bit of smoke coming off, so I'm going to kind of set it off angle here as I set these in. You'll hear the sizzle. And that's not too bad. That's about what I'm looking for. You don't want it spattering and splattering, right, you guys? Because there's a lot of moisture, like we were talking about in the last video. In salmon, it holds a lot of water, and we're doing sockeye here, so I don't want this to get too hot, and I definitely don't want to burn the skin underneath it, because I took a lot of time preparing it, getting the scales off, salting it and stuff like that, so it can sit right here. Here's the problem that people run into with salmon. They want to start doing this, they want to start poking, they want to start lifting. Leave it alone. Let it just sit there. Already I can smell the garlic, I can smell the rosemary, and I can smell all of those great spices that I put on here starting to marry with the food. And we're gonna, let's see, do I need light? Oh, we're good right like that. So I'm just gonna let this sit, but if you look at the salmon right here, and this is kind of your indicator as you go along, and this is what I watch. You see how the edges of the salmon are starting just to change color? But we've got thick portions of the salmon, and we've got thinner portions of the salmon. We don't want to overcook it. So what I'm going to do is take this lid, and I'm going to let it, now that I've already got the bottom going to where it's going to start crisping, I'm just going to put this lid right over it. And that's going to hold the heat in there, and that's going to help me take care of the thicker parts of the salmon. So here's the funny thing. We were talking about spices and stuff like that on salmon. You can do just about anything you want. Even if you're doing it on the barbecue, you're going to find that up until the very last second, we're going to cook this whole piece of salmon with the skin side down. And it's going to cook all the way through. But I'm going to show you a really cool trick right towards the end that will change up the flavor profile and create layers on that salmon that you just will blow your mind. One of the things that I do is I put turbinado raw sugar on there, I put honey on it, and I put brown sugar on it. Now if I was out at the barbecue right now and I was getting ready to do this on tin foil, I'd probably pre-mix butter and brown sugar and honey and stuff like that there, and I'd use it as a glaze over the top of my salmon. The problem with doing glazes is a lot of times with that brush you start wiping off what? All the spices that you took so much time to carefully put onto the salmon. What I'm watching for on this as I'm going along, because I'm just leaving it alone, I'm letting it sit, my heat's not up too high, is I'm going to watch for white fat to start coming up through the salmon as it's cooking. When that white fat starts to come up through it, that tells me it's time to go ahead and put the honey on, put the turbinado sugar on, and a little bit of brown sugar. And I watch it for just a second longer, and then I'm going to turn it over, and we're just gonna color the other side, and it's pretty cool. What's great about these savory butcher fillets is I can take 3, 4, 5 fillets, and I can take and just throw them in my fridge. Because they're sealed really tight, anytime I want, I can go and create a quick, delicious meal that's healthy for my family, and I love working with it. Don't be afraid of sockeye. Why do you think king salmon's so doggone expensive? Number one, it tastes amazing. It's wonderful for canning, it's wonderful for smoking because it's got the oils in it, but sockeye's a little bit tougher to cook. That's why you'll see a lot of people canning it and going, I can't even mess with it, but you do it this way, you're gonna blow your friend's mind. And again, this is my own personal recipe. This is how I cook it. Of course, I like to cook, so half the time I'm changing the recipe up and people are like, well, how'd you do it last time? I don't know, I just threw stuff on it and it tasted good, I think. And so I'm always changing up, but I did this one here, I've done it a few times, and I found that I absolutely love the way that this comes out. So we're just watching. Now if you come over here and you actually look, if you kind of peek through that part there, you can actually see where some of that white fat's starting to come up through the salmon. That tells us that this one's cooking, but remember, that was the tail piece. It was a little bit thinner on there. So I'll watch that one, and that will probably be the first one to come off, but I want to keep this lid on as long as possible. I don't want the heat escaping. You notice it's not a perfect seal lid on top. I'm just showing you, you can do it with just about anything, you guys. You don't have to have the best tools, the best kitchen gadgets, all that. It's just you got to have some ingenuity, creativity, and go, cool, I want to make something taste good. And don't be afraid of seasonings. Now, if I was to take this and just pile a whole pile of salt on top of it, and just cover it like an anthill, probably not going to taste good. So think in terms of flavor profiles. So a lot of times I'll layer my my garlic, and then I'll layer cayenne, and then I'll hit it with some sweet, and then I'll come back with paprika, some more savory stuff like that, and I create layers of flavors, which is what I'm doing here. You notice I have not put any of the sugary components on yet, because I want all of those flavors, including the liquid smoke that I put on, to steep into the salmon there. Now, if you look back over here, even the bigger pieces, the fat's starting to come up through. So this is a great indicator that this is getting cooked. If it wasn't cooking all the way through, this fat wouldn't come up and out. And that's how you know that you're not going to screw up your salmon. If you sit there and wait for this stuff just to come over like a volcano, and you're going, oh my gosh, and you're poking it and jabbing at it, you're going to screw it up, because you're opening it up, you're allowing the moistures to escape and stuff like that. So just sit there and watch. People are in this hurry up, rush mood all the time, but the reality is, this salmon here, to make this salmon dish, we're talking about 20 minutes maybe between prep time, seasoning, and actually cooking. If you can't take 20 minutes to cook something absolutely amazing, especially when you're getting a product as quality as this, you're crazy. So we're just about there. I'm going to put this back in the fridge, because this will be lunch tomorrow. And we are going to peek at it, and we are just about there. That is looking great. Oh my gosh, the smell that's coming off of it's amazing. So I'm going to show you something kind of cool, you guys. I don't know where I put my jabbing stick. It was sitting right here. We'll grab a different one. Okay, we're going to take the lid off, and I want you to come over here and take a look at this. This is what we're going for, and I don't normally fuss with this, but for the sake of the video, I want you guys to see what I'm looking at here. Look at that skin. It is getting beautiful. Because I've had the lid on, it's not crisping as quickly or as much, because I'm holding and retaining moisture, which is that steam that I was going for. So now that I know that I've got my salmon just about cooked, I'm going to turn up my heat just slightly on here. I'm going to hit it with honey first. Now, why do I want to hit it with honey first? Because I want the sugary stuff to stick to it. So I'm not going crazy. I'm just going to put it over the... I am going crazy. Look at that. Hey, there's an outtake. Okay, so I got honey in my oil. You've got chocolate in your peanut butter. It's not a problem, you guys, because it went down in the oil. We're going to come out just fine. It is impossible, really, truly impossible to screw this up. So even with that happening right there, I'm not worried. I'm looking at it. That's all sitting nice. We're going to add some turbinado sugar. Sugar's to the top. You guys are going, what the heck? I don't need, why are you putting so much sugar on it? Remember, I'm going to turn this over. So what happens to sugars in a hot pan when it hits a hot pan, or oils or butters and things like that? It caramelizes. And that's that pretty mahogany color that you get on food when you're cooking. So that's the reason for the sugars. And I think we're just going to go with just a little bit of brown sugar on here, just because I like the richness of brown sugar. Oh yeah. Now if you look in the pan, you saw earlier that I had the top come off the honey. Come here, check this out. I had the top come off the honey, and what is that doing in there? Well, that's bubbling up. Not a problem. Why? Because as soon as I turn this over, as soon as I roll that salmon over on this, bam, that is going to be amazing. So I think, oh, perfect flake. Let's go to color it. Oh, that tastes so doggone good. Crispy skin. And the skin literally came off of this one. But you know what? I'm just gonna let the skin sit right here. It's gonna continue to crisp. We're putting a little bit of color on this salmon. I could cook this 20 times, and 20 times it's gonna come out delicious, and 10 of those times I'm gonna have skin come off one salmon, I'm gonna have skin a little bit darker on another salmon. The point is it the flavor profile? Is that what you're looking for? You're looking for perfect salmon that is not dry. Everybody loves. We're having a good time at Earl's Cooking Show today, I can tell you that. Dropping stuff, pulling skin off a salmon, spilling honey. It's okay. This is life. This is how it works. So I don't want to cook this too long. I might have waited a little bit too long to turn the heat up on my skillet, but bam, look at that. That is pretty. And that is perfect. It may not be perfect in the sense that I didn't crisp the salmon flawlessly, but let me tell you something. When you go up to your salmon with a fork, you got honey all over your hands, brown sugar all over your fingers, you're dropping plates, but you can go up to your salmon and do that, forget about it. That is salmon perfection. All of those seasonings, all of those flavors, that smokiness of it, the sweetness of the brown sugar, the honey, it all comes through and marries perfectly. On a salad, as a side dish, however you want to cook it. This is how I like to cook sockeye salmon. You guys can try it however you want at home. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to create. I'm going to show you a lot of other cool things that I do with it. And don't worry if it doesn't look perfect. It doesn't always have to look perfect. But I'm Earl. This is my cooking show. I appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you.